everyone, this is Mahu again from thinkcutie.com, and just working on another project. I have a little stuffed poodle that I'm using as my model, but I'm just kind of working on a new character, just trying to think if I want to put it into a story. And so what I'm doing is just kind of looking at some of the little characters that I have kind of just laying around, and right now I am just working on kind of texturing and figuring out kind of the outline. I think I'm gonna try to see if I can make her digital too. So we'll see how that all turns out, but I'm just kind of working on the texture that I want to use. I've been still playing with the brushes that are available in Illustrator and Photoshop, you know, just trying to get more familiar. In a way, I feel like I'm kind of starting over because I haven't used them in a while. So right now I am just kind of using my little Valentine's Day stuffed model as kind of, you know, character reference. So if you're lost and you don't know what to do, you know, maybe that's something that you can start out with as a project, is just kind of use things that are around you to model some of your characters after, and also to help generate new ideas, and just, you know, also because I do like to practice, you know, my sketching, and you know, if you do, I find that when I actually hand draw everything first, it helps give me an idea of shading and, you know, light source too. So if you kind of work that out ahead of time and really think about it, and just kind of work on, you know, where that placement is, and it'll help you later, because then it's kind of like creating that muscle memory for yourself. And, you know, it doesn't have to be perfect. Sometimes for me, it's just a matter of trying to get started and trying to figure out what medium that I want to work with. And sometimes that's my biggest challenge. You know, I tried doing it earlier today, but sometimes it's like, if I don't get my mind in that right space, then, you know, it's harder for me to, you know, sit down and really concentrate on the way that I want things to turn out and look. And it's just a matter sometimes too, it's like once I start going and I get into this, you know, feeling and the movement, then things go a little bit easier for me. It's just kind of playing, just trying to see, you know, where I want the little poodle, you know, fur to be. And, you know, you can see it's okay to erase, and, you know, if you have to start over. But, you know, this is one way that you just got to kind of keep practicing in order to develop your characters. And I just wanted to show you here, I'm just starting to outline the little sketch that I did quickly of my little toy stuffed poodle that I got from Valentine's Day. And I wanted a little bit thicker outline to it before I upload it and, you know, change it to digital. That's usually my process. Right now I just use the Pigma micron and a 0.05. Sometimes I've been doing the 0.25 or the 0.1 pen, but I wanted a little bit thicker line to give it a little bit more definition. I will show you the next step of the process here, but mainly it's just going through and just kind of making an outline here that I can go ahead and transfer and then work with in digital. Trying to decide if I was going to go ahead and try to ink right now, so I'm actually just using my little miniature set here of some Windsor Newton, and this is what it looks like, my little palette. I actually do like the brush that it does come with. It is small enough to give some good detail, but right now I'm just kind of getting a feel of a Faber Castill ink pen or water pen for watercolor, and you can see that the little water reservoir is right back here. And so right now all I'm doing is just going in, picking up some color, and then using another palette here to kind of, you know, put some color down. It depends on how intense you want it. So you can either put it on really thick or thin, and I'm just trying to see what kind of texture I can actually get here with the Poodle, you know, trying to make it look more fur-like. So I'm just kind of going through, I kind of put base shadows down, and now I'm just going through over the top of it after it's dried and texturing a little bit more. So, you know, it is really late Saturday night, and Netflix is kind of playing in the background, and I'm just kind of experimenting with the water brush here. And I actually first saw the water brush being used by you know, a plein air artist who does just regular black ink, and uses this Faber Castill water pen. And he is actually, I was watching his live studies while he was in Venice. And he was just going through, sitting in the canals daily and just trying to, you know, capture kind of different scenes at different times of day. And I just kind of watched to see how this worked, and I wanted to give it a try. And right now I'm just kind of trying to see, I think in the beginning when it came to watercolor, I was actually afraid to use it because I don't know, the medium was just intimidating. I started out, you know, using oils, and then I switched and used acrylic for faster dry time, although I am missing the way that the fluidness of the oil and being able to mix a little bit easier without it drying within 5 minutes. So I'm just playing around and getting used to using water pens and working with watercolor. And it seems like, you know, being a little bit afraid of using the watercolor. When I first started, I'd really apply it really lightly, looking back at some of my beginning work, and I'm just trying to get over that fear of not being afraid to really let things intensify, learning, you know, to when to let things dry, using different brushes, and you know, trying to go from also kind of monochromatic. Right now I'm doing more of a monochromatic, just using one color and then drying over it, and just not being afraid, you know, just letting the water and the color, the pigment just kind of move over the page, and seeing, you know, if I layer lightly or if I push, you know, harder. After switching back and forth between digital to you know, a paper medium, the feel just is very different. You know, I can adjust things a little bit more, and here, you know, once it's down there and you're inking, you can't really, you can try to sweep it up with a dry brush if it's still wet. There's different techniques, but you know, it's a little bit, once it's there, it's there. And that's kind of one of the nice things too about watercolor. It's actually the beauty of the watercolor is that you can kind of just get these blends, and, you know, it's just kind of letting things just absorb into the paper. And I am also using a Windsor Newton watercolor paper, just kind of a lighter weight. I didn't tape it down onto the little studio table here, but you know, I wasn't gonna go and cover the whole page. I'm just really trying to play around with this and to see what I can do to before I scan it in. And, you know, sometimes I adjust things too, or I'll add a little bit more dimension. I may play with the color digitally, but, you know, I just like switching back and forth between mediums, because when you're holding it, it's just a different feeling. It's like a different muscle memory when you're working with different types of mediums. And you know, it's like once you have that down and you can kind of feel how the brushes work, you know, then it's not as intimidating. So right now I'm just kind of doing some things to try to get over my fear, and you know, not being afraid to color things in and just kind of let the color flow. And, you know, just experimenting. And those are different things that you should try to kind of grow your work, because, you know, I look at where I started and, you know, till now, and my characters when I first started drawing for I'm just kind of adding some more water to the little brush here. But my characters, when I first started, you know, they were so simple. I mean, I was actually trying to do a technique which is done in Korean art, which is more flat and simple and not layered. But now, you know, I'm trying to add a little bit more of dimension and texture and different techniques. So just kind of playing with the brushes. And, you know, I can see from when I first started that my work has grown. And so it's just a matter of, you know, continuing to work with it and really just trying. And, you know, your work isn't going to grow unless you keep trying different mediums and experiment. You're just not going to get, you know, reach the level that you could. So you have to keep trying. And, you know, going back to the artist that was in, you know, doing the plein air with the watercolor pen, it is good to actually just kind of study different periods and different artists. So, you know, I've reviewed Italian studies and French studies, and mainly when it comes to like plein air and outdoor paintings, using both watercolor, acrylic, and oils, and just kind of seeing how different they are. And you can actually tell, you know, in different series that during different periods of time, you can see what different techniques were being used, and just the way that artists, you know, really are moving. And it's good to kind of observe and watch. I'm kind of lucky that, you know, I can turn on YouTube and actually watch a lot of other artists, you know, creating, to see what they're doing, and they're giving tutorials and sharing where, you know, that wasn't possible. You know, you'd actually have to go there, and now it's a little bit different. And you can, if you can't, you know, afford to fly all over and apprentice with them, you know, at least you're getting some exposure to what they're doing, and they're sharing their tips with you. So really just, you know, choose what you want to study, and it'll help your work grow. So just kind of seeing, do I like that intense color? Do I need to like let this dry a little bit longer? You know, you can go ahead and comment and let me know what you think. But here I'm just kind of playing with, you know, layering. If I keep layering, you know, what is the paper going to do? Because sometimes too, with watercolor paper, you don't want it so that, you know, the fiber is getting really like grainy and almost kind of like peeling off. So I'm trying not to go over certain areas too much, but I'm just trying to see what it's going to do. And I'm kind of just doing a dabbing technique right now, just to see what this brush actually does. And it is a little bit different because, you know, you can't really stop the water from coming out. You can let it dry out a little bit, and I have like a little paper napkin on the side, but it's, you know, it's very fluid. It's kind of nice. It's not really thin, but you can, as you can see right here, you know, you can put a little more pressure on there, but you do have to keep picking up color, and it does make it very runny. So if you're thinking of getting one of these, they do have several different kinds available, but I thought I would just try this because that's what the other artist was using. And yeah, I think I do like it. So if you're gonna do more monochromatic, this might be one of the tools that you wanna try using. Okay, after some more shading, I just went in there with a little bit more color and just finished up some different layering and patterning. So there we go. There is Roxanne, all of Roxanne. And I will scan this in digitally, but I don't know if I'm really going to change anything. But yeah, here is another character done here of almost to the end of the month here for my March creative month. And thank you for watching. This is Mahi with thinkcutie.com.